JC Tickets provides first-class trips to Ravens road games, including airfare, 4-star hotels, game tickets, and cocktail parties. We also help provide great seating locations to all Ravens home games. JC Tickets, where the games begin. Visit us at jctickets.net.
Ravens Wrap is sponsored by Bud Light, jctickets.net, Geico Insurance, Dunaway Furniture, Ocean City Golf Club, RussellStreetReport.com, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Holiday Inn Express, the original Green Turtle, hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
Welcome back in. It's the original Green Turtles Ravens Wrap show right here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio 93.5 The Beach. Don't forget the Patriots game, 4:25 kickoff. That game was flexed as the Sunday night game now is going to be Philly and Chicago. But 4:25 kickoff at M&T Bank Stadium. If you can't make it to the game, of course, 93.5 The Beach is the affiliate, strongest signal affiliate on Delmarva. Pre-game will be 3:55 coming from WBAL Radio. Yep. Joining us is Keith Mills, special guest from WBAL Radio and TV. Also from 98 Rock, and I didn't mean to leave out Press Box as well in the last segment. Yeah. Does a great job. Keith, you know high school sports more than anybody I know. I'm blown away with the high school, and I mean, doing the we were
I remember when he played at Westminster.
Yeah, right. We were talking off air about the state high school football championship. Yeah. There's nothing like Friday Night Lights.
Nothing like it.
A lot of fun.
Nothing like it.
So, well, guys, of course, 18-16, the Ravens defeat the Lions, and pretty neat. After the game the next day. And you probably saw the billboard right down from Television Hill, Clear Channel Outdoor along their digital billboards on 95, 895, and I-83 proclaimed Justin Tucker as Legatron, and that Legatron is greater than Megatron, and also in Tucker we trust. In celebration of the Ravens' victory. Also, the Hamden Ice Cream Shop, they gave us Ray Rice Krispie Treats, Crunch Davis for Chris Davis, and the Heisenberg, a farewell to the Breaking Bad TV show wrapping up. The Charmery has come out with a tribute ice cream for Justin Tucker. It's a Dr. Pepper-based ice cream with a cayenne kick. To it down there at West 36th Street, along with all the lights.
So you're good as your last kick, though, when you're kicking. So he's hot.
I was going to say, but you know, Matt Stover, you know, beloved in this town. He's Justin Tucker quickly becoming that guy. But you're right, though. How quickly we can turn on kickers.
Well, Matt Stover, they wouldn't even tried a 60-yard field goal. Wouldn't have tried a 50-yard field goal with Matt.
Yeah,
I would think. But his range is unbelievable. He has changed the whole dynamic, guys, of that offense right now, if you ask me.
They ought to call Tucker Operatron because he's an opera singer.
Can sing.
That would be the name for him, you know.
Renaissance. Have you seen the 12 Days of Christmas that the Ravens choir?
I did.
The locker room choir has done. Well, Justin did the 5 golden rings part, the 5th, and it was pretty good, pretty impressive.
Well, John Garrick joining us up for this segment, OC local, former Lehigh College player. Give a round of applause because he's got some explaining to do. and I know we joke about this, John. You know, off air we talked a lot about it, but you know, with Joe Flacco, and you're right, there are a lot of high highs and low lows. There's not an evenness with him necessarily with his game. But I don't think anyone, even his biggest detractors, can argue the fact that in the last 2+ seasons of Joe Flacco, that when it comes down to 4 minutes or less and your team's trailing, he's right up there with Manning and Brady. I mean, he is elite, at least in that category.
Hey, look, Flacco's my guy. I'm glad he's on my team.
Can we go back to the tape a few weeks ago?
I always knew he was going to win us the Super Bowl. No, I mean, look, the guy is, I think he's got like a numb brain. And sometimes that's great. When it's bitter cold in Denver, it's great. And when the wind is swirling in New England in the playoffs, it's great. It's great not to let anything get to you. When it's couple minutes ago and you've been winning the whole game and now you find yourself behind with 1:30 left and no timeouts or one timeout, whatever it was. He's pretty good. He's pretty good with that kind of mindset and that brain. But sometimes that numb brain, Keith,
the biggest misconception of Joe Flacco is that he is not an intelligent young man and does not have a good football IQ. You talk to anybody, see Joe, what we see and the press conferences and that's not the Joe Flacco personality that's seen in the locker room and with the coaches and in the tape room. Cam Cameron told me once when he first got there in 2009, there was nothing they could throw at him from an X and O standpoint that the other team was doing, whether it be in theory or on the field, that he wasn't ready for or he couldn't adapt to. So this whole, just because you don't see Joe screaming at somebody on a sideline or you don't see Joe, rah-rah on the sideline doesn't mean he's not intense and he doesn't have a football IQ that's as good as anybody.
Yeah,
maybe not Manning or Brady football IQ. That's an elite level.
Sure,
but I'll tell you what, everybody else, there's no one that there's no one in the game today with the exception of those three guys, Brady, Breeze, and Manning, and maybe Aaron Rodgers, that he can't deal with.
You guys talked earlier. A lot of sports is not, especially when you get into professional sports, it's not a talent-based deal. So the differences aren't player against player. Is Calvin Johnson better than Torrey Smith? Yeah, he's better than Torrey Smith, but they're both world-class athletes. The difference really becomes the intangibles. The preparation, the discipline you have, not making mistakes. Detroit lost the game. I mean, let's face it. The Ravens the Ravens won the game, but Detroit did a lot to help the Ravens win that game. And sometimes you just need to be mentally strong when things aren't going perfectly to have the class, basically. That's really where the Ravens are. They're just classier, like in a horse race. They're just at a different level of class.
I want to interject on that. I thought the Ravens played a very good game defensively. I thought that their schemes, and this is a big credit to Dean Pease, I thought their schemes in which they switched things up, they blitzed when they had to, they kept Stafford off balance the entire game. I don't think the Detroit Lions gave the game away. I think the Ravens really and truly earned it.
Well, I think you look at from the quarterback position, Joe had no turnovers. When you turn it over at the quarterback position, you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball. And the games they've lost this year, Joe had some turnovers. But at that time, they had Deontay Thompson and Tannen Dawes playing wide receiver with Torrey Smith. Dennis Pitta wasn't there. Not making an excuse for Joe, but his arsenal and they still have no running game. So his arsenal at wide out then as opposed to now are completely different. But who would you rather have? Matthew Stafford, who wings the ball around for 5,000 yards a game, or Tony Romo, who throws for 480 yards a game, and in crunch time, which every NFL game comes down to, those guys crap the bed. So if you're a player personnel guy, who do you want? Do you want Joe Flacco, who can orchestrate it, manage it, or do you want a guy who's a renegade out there just winging it around? You saw Matthew Stafford the other night. The interception that he threw to Darrell Smith was, that's high school.
Well, that's a big key on the road. They had three turnovers at home, and John, we had none. That was big because the penalties were about the same.
I guess the Ravens won the game. It was in many ways one of the toughest regular season games the Ravens have had in a couple of years.
No question.
It was a must-win for both teams. The Lions are at home, with a well-balanced team. Really, one of the most talented offensive teams. On paper, there is. The Ravens went in there, found a way to win the game. I mean, impressive. All right. Now the difference is there's using an old Brian Billick phrase. You can either go in and kick the door in and start chucking spears, or you can win the way the Ravens did. Now, ultimately, it doesn't matter. But Joe Flacco, when I get on Joe a little bit, it's just there's little things that aren't perfect all the time, and I'm a fan.
He may never
want him
be.
to be perfect.
I don't think he's going to be.
He throws the ball late a lot, and if he throws the ball on time, or Torrey Smith, there was a play when he throws if he hits him earlier, it was a 30-yard completion, moved the chains, everybody's happy, it led to a field goal. But if he throws that ball 10 yards earlier before he gets all the way across the field, then all Torrey needs to do is make one guy miss, and it's a touchdown. So those are the little details that's what I get on him about sometimes. But hey, look, 18-16, right? Good guys.
So, Tom, I want to go back to the defense and two things, and then we'll come around. First and foremost, I thought we know Calvin Johnson, what kind of player he is, and I figured, hey, now I know we're going to double him, but he's going to get his. He's just that kind of athlete. I thought coming in, taking a look at the statistics and all that the guy we really needed to shut down was Reggie Bush, a guy that in the running game this year, at least for the Lions, running between the tackles, over 4 yards a carry, also big in the passing game, second leading receiver behind Calvin Johnson. I thought if you limited Reggie Bush, I thought that was going to be key. And yeah, he did fairly well in terms of rushing the football, 17 for 86. He did have a touchdown, but in the passing game, just 2 catches for 15 yards, only targeted 4 times. That to me was huge. And then Jimmy Smith, continuing to be the first-round draft pick we thought he would be when he was matched up against Calvin Johnson, gave up just 3 catches for 29 yards on 7 targets. Again, continuing to fulfill first-round potential.
Johnson had 2 big drops in the game, too. But having said that...
But one of them was on Corey Graham.
Right. It was on Corey Graham. Smith also had a huge tackle. James Ahedebo missed a tackle he should have had, and Smith was there to keep Johnson from running downfield. Yeah, I agree. Probably saved a touchdown. I think the Ravens did a good job on Reggie Bush. Not a perfect job. He had some big gains. He got him some first downs when they needed him. But they did keep him under control, and that's what you have to do because he's a yak guy. You get him the ball, and he'll run, get the yards after the catch. So
if you look at the end of that game, Calvin Johnson took himself out of the game twice. And I'm not saying Matt Elam was right when he said you got to physically punish him when he catches the ball, but that's what they did early. The Ravens physically punish you from the first snap to the last snap. And even though they got a lot of warts, they false start on offense. Like John said, Joe has been inconsistent at times this year. They've had some personnel issues. But I tell you what, from the offensive line, even though they are not as physically talented, they are still physical. But their defensive line punishes you from start to finish. Reggie Bush took himself out 3 times in the second half because they are. Adrian Peterson last week got knocked out. John Harbaugh said his first year after training camp, I asked him, is your team fresh right now? He goes, I don't care about fresh. We want the toughest team on the field when we break training camp. And the Pittsburgh game, if it showed you anything a couple weeks ago, is that those 2 teams are still the 2 toughest physical teams in football because that game was an absolute battle from start to finish. And there weren't many teams that could have held up under the assault and the physical power that they were delivering than those 2, man. And this is what wins in December, man. Physically tough. Not necessarily the polish and all the style and all that nonsense. Who's physically tougher? They shut out New England last year in the second half in the championship game because they were physically tougher than New England. Tell you what, Bill Belichick doesn't want any part of them this week, man.
Wholeheartedly agree. Just 1 second on that. New England does not have those type of guys. And the guy who really fits the description is Vince Wilfork, and he's out of the game. So I think the Ravens have a huge advantage going to this, and I think there's probably no team that fires up the Ravens fans other than the Steelers more so than the Patriots.
John, we've got about 45 seconds, but to Keith's point, in this league that's become 7-on-7, you can only hit once a week with the new CBA. I think Keith brings up an excellent point about being physical and tough and taking it to these guys. And hey, we took it to Calvin Johnson, and he was ineffective at times.
We hit him. We hit him on a play early in the game, forearm in the back of the head, and that rung his bell.
It woke him up.
It definitely did.
And he's looking over his shoulder sometimes. The Ravens production guys that I work with have ISO of Jimmy Smith pretty much every snap. And even when he wasn't in the play, Smith is nailing him on the side, man. And that takes its toll.
Well, as Bruce Laird, who's on this program a lot, has said, hey, it's worth a penalty once in a while to send a message to him. More of the Ravens Wrap Show to come on Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach. We're back next.
What's this all about?
We're giving Rich the NFL experience of a goal line dive.
Really?
There's an easier way to get an ultimate NFL fan experience. Just snap the tag wherever Bud Light is sold and you could win. Bud Light in the NFL. Here we go.
Can I make it?
On the internet, yes. Into the end zone, no.
JC Tickets provides first-class trips to Ravens road games, including airfare, 4-star hotels, game tickets, and cocktail parties. We also help provide great seating locations to all Ravens home games. JC Tickets, where the games begin. Visit us at jctickets.net.